I avoid confrontation like it's contagious. I'm polite, professional, and I always assume people mean well. That is, until last year when my old boss decided to test just how far he could push me. It started after I quit my job at a small digital marketing agency run by a guy named Victor. I'd been there for almost 2 years, mostly doing social media and content work. When I first joined, Victor seemed charming, ambitious, the kind of boss who promised, "We're like a family here." But within 6 months, I realized that meant unpaid overtime, guilt trips, and zero boundaries. Victor had this way of making every problem your fault. If a client was unhappy, it wasn't because he underquoted or ignored feedback. It was because I didn't anticipate their emotional needs. If he missed a meeting, I was supposed to cover for him and somehow make it seem like I was the one running late. He'd call at 11 p.m. to brainstorm ideas that weren't ideas at all, just vague rants about how he wanted the business to go viral. By the time I hit my second year, I was completely burned out. I was running multiple client accounts, writing all the content, scheduling everything, and sometimes even doing graphic design because Victor refused to hire help. My mental health was tanking, my weekends were gone, and the last straw came when my paycheck was late. Again. When I asked about it, he shrugged and said, "We're waiting on a client payment. You'll get it next week." I didn't. Instead, I got a lecture about how I should understand the struggles of entrepreneurship. That was it for me. I gave my 2 weeks notice, finished up every single project neatly, and walked out without saying goodbye. 2 weeks after leaving, I realized he still hadn't paid me for my final month of work. Nearly $2,300. I texted, emailed, and even sent a polite reminder through WhatsApp. No response. Finally, I called him. He picked up on the first ring, his voice fake cheerful. "Oh hey, sorry, been meaning to get back to you. Yeah, about that payment, you'll get it soon. We're just sorting some things out." I thanked him and waited another week. Nothing. Then another. Still nothing. When I followed up again, he suddenly turned defensive. "Look," he said, "we had to redo some of your deliverables after you left. That took time and money. So technically, I don't owe you the full amount." I was stunned. My work had been done, approved, and delivered before I even handed in my notice. I had emails, Slack messages, timestamps. Everything. But Victor clearly thought I'd roll over and give up. So I didn't. I sent a detailed email summarizing every hour worked, every project delivered, every signed-off approval from him or the clients. I even attached PDFs. It was the most professional "you're not scamming me" email I'd ever written. He ignored it. At that point, I felt that familiar, burning frustration that comes when someone knows they're wrong but thinks they're smarter than you. I told myself to stay calm, to not do anything impulsive. But every time I checked my empty bank account, the anger grew. Then one day, while scrolling through LinkedIn, I saw that Victor had posted about valuing his hardworking team and fostering integrity in the workplace. I nearly threw my phone. That was when something in me snapped. I decided if he wasn't going to pay me privately, I'd make sure everyone knew publicly. Now, I didn't want to just rant online without proof. That never ends well. So I started collecting everything. Screenshots of our chats. Copies of emails. Even a few voice messages he'd left bragging about how he was saving money by underpaying freelancers. Once I had a tidy little folder full of receipts, I drafted a long factual LinkedIn post. It started with, "This is a cautionary tale for anyone working in digital marketing or freelancing. Be careful who you work for." Then I laid out everything that happened. The unpaid wages. The gaslighting. The fake promises. I included redacted screenshots. No sensitive client info, just his words, mine, and the undeniable pattern of him refusing to pay. At the bottom, I tagged his company page and wrote, "If you're considering partnering with this agency, make sure you get your contract and payment terms in writing." I hesitated before hitting post. My heart was racing. I worried I was making a mistake. But then I thought, what mistake? Speaking the truth? Protecting others from a scammer? So I hit publish. I didn't expect what happened next. Within hours, the post blew up. People started commenting, sharing, tagging others. Other ex-employees chimed in, confirming my story. One said Victor still owed them $800. Another said he'd stolen their work and reused it without credit. Someone else even claimed he'd used fake testimonials to lure new clients. By the next morning, the post had over 40,000 views. Victor called me furious. His voice was trembling with rage. He accused me of defamation, said I was ruining his reputation, and demanded I take the post down or face legal consequences. But here's the thing. Everything I said was true, and I had proof. So I told him calmly that he was welcome to pursue legal action, but he should probably consult his lawyer first about unpaid wage claims. He hung up. For the next 2 days, I got a mix of messages. Some supportive, some weirdly aggressive. But overall, the response was overwhelmingly in my favor. People from the industry reached out privately to thank me for speaking up. A few even offered job referrals. Then I got an email from one of Victor's clients. They said they'd seen my post and wanted to confirm if it was true, because they'd been having issues getting deliverables from his agency. I told them what I could without overstepping legal boundaries, but I didn't need to say much. They already knew. Within a week, at least 3 of his clients dropped him. His company's LinkedIn page went silent. The last post he made before deleting his profile was a vague quote about haters and integrity. And then he disappeared. After Victor disappeared from LinkedIn, I honestly thought that was the end of it. He'd been exposed, his fake company persona had crumbled, and I finally felt like I could breathe again. But of course, people like him never go quietly. A few days later, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line said, "Final notice before legal escalation." My stomach twisted. I opened it and there it was. A poorly written legal threat, clearly not sent by an actual lawyer. It was filled with dramatic lines like, "You have inflicted reputational damage that cannot be reversed," and "You will be held liable for all resulting business losses unless this defamatory post is removed immediately." I almost laughed. It had spelling errors, no letterhead, and was signed "The Management" instead of an actual name. I replied with a one-liner. "Please have your attorney contact me directly with proof of representation." He never responded. At that point, I decided to stop engaging altogether. My post was still up, still circulating, and I'd already been contacted by a journalist who covered freelance exploitation stories. She wanted to feature what happened to me as part of a larger piece about wage theft in small creative agencies. I agreed, anonymously. The article came out 2 weeks later. It didn't name him directly, but the descriptions were a little too close for comfort if you knew the situation. And from what I heard through the grapevine, his agency officially shut down within a month. What I didn't expect was what happened next. Victor tried to rebrand. One morning, I got a LinkedIn notification that a new company page had mentioned me. I clicked it and nearly spit out my coffee. It was clearly his new agency. Same style, same tagline, even the same website layout, just a new name and a slightly different color scheme. And under the team section, there was a list of employees, all clearly stock photos. It was pathetic. But I wasn't about to start another public post war. I figured he'd eventually dig his own grave again. I muted the notifications and moved on with my life. Except, the story wasn't quite over. A few months later, I started my new job at a different agency. Legit this time, great culture, actual contracts, the works. I was happier than I'd been in years. I didn't think about Victor much anymore. Until one afternoon when a new client came into a meeting and introduced himself. His name sounded oddly familiar, but I couldn't place it until he handed me his card. It had the logo of Victor's old company, the one that had shut down. My heart nearly stopped. He noticed my face and smiled awkwardly. "Oh, you know that agency?" I nodded slowly. "I used to work there." His expression shifted immediately. He sighed and said, "Ah, you must have been one of the people he scammed." That word, scammed, hit hard. He explained that after my post went viral, several clients started sharing stories too. Apparently, Victor had been double-charging retainers, ghosting clients halfway through projects, and even lying about his team size to seem bigger. This new client told me they'd tried to get their money back but never did. They'd ended up writing off thousands in losses. I felt this strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction because karma had clearly done its thing, but sadness because so many people had been hurt along the way. After that meeting, I went home and finally deleted all the old screenshots, messages, and proof I'd collected. I didn't need them anymore. I had closure. But just when I thought the story was over for good, one final twist dropped out of nowhere. A few months later, I got a message request on Instagram from a random account. The profile picture was blank and the name was just a string of letters. I hesitated before opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. It said, "I know what you did. You destroyed my life. I lost everything because of you. Are you happy now?" It was Victor. I didn't respond. I just blocked him immediately. But even after blocking, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was I happy? In a way, yes. He'd stolen from people, manipulated others, and gotten away with it for too long. I didn't destroy his life, he did that himself. I just turned on the lights. I told myself I'd let it go. But there was a part of me that still felt haunted by how easily he could have done the same to someone else. Then, about a year later, I got one more unexpected email. This time from someone using a corporate domain. It was from an HR manager at a well-known media company. She said they were doing a background check on a candidate named Victor M., who listed me as a reference, claiming we had worked together harmoniously at his old agency. I swear I laughed so hard I nearly fell off my chair. I didn't badmouth him. I just replied professionally. "Yes, we worked together at agency name." I can confirm he was the owner. I'd recommend verifying any claims of collaboration or payment records independently. It was the politest way I could possibly say, "Good luck, he's a liar." A week later, she replied with a thank you note, and a subtle hint that he didn't get the job. And that was that. Looking back, I don't regret what I did even for a second. I used to think staying quiet was the mature thing to do, that professionalism meant letting things slide. But sometimes silence only protects the wrong people. I learned that speaking up doesn't make you petty, it makes you free. Now, whenever I work with someone new, I make sure everything's in writing, every deliverable tracked, every payment scheduled. I don't let anyone guilt me into unpaid work again. Victor taught me a lot of things, but mostly he taught me how to stand up for myself.